The importance of it is language identifies you. You hear an Italian person speaking on the street, straight away you say, oh, he's Italian. And being able to speak Jirrbal just puts you straight away as a Jirrbal person, different from anyone else. But it does more than that. It ties you with a certain part of the country, to a certain piece of land where the language was developed. I'm from the Jirrbal tribe. My dad's people are on the tableland. What I would say in language, or in other words, this is my home and this is where we sit down. The country's been all cut up into banana farms and cane farms. The Davison Creek is just over that way. Echo Creek is over there, and the Tully River runs up that way. All Aboriginal languages are built on the landscape they're on. The reason that the language is different in Alice Springs to here, because the country is different, the animals and birds, the climate's different. The stories and place names that are all around there, they put meaning straight away, make sense to the language. I'll give you an indication if you listen there. Hear that pigeon there singing out? Now, Aboriginal people tell you that they'll sing out their name, and that pigeon a while ago was saying "Guguin, Guguin." There he is now, and that's his language name. We'll go here then down here. This is special country here, really special. Another thing about languages is place names, particularly along the river. Every sandbank, every waterhole, every bend has got a name, and it's named after distinctions. A place called Julu Julumba. Julu Julu is a creek pender, so at that particular place it's got a lot of creek penders. My family and that used to come up and camp up here in the holiday time, in the wet season when there was no work, and they knew this country, every stick and stone of the place. Lucky I got to know some of it anyway. And if you look across there, you'll see a fairly large stone in the water there. That's Wandambilla. That's my niece is named after that. Part of the dingo story. I've read stuff where they say Aboriginal people knew nothing about the land, didn't own it. We have a more complex system than the English world will ever know. Because the old people knew everything about the land, every intimate detail. You go and ask the children or people around Tully to name something somewhere, they might remember where Tully and Yurmo is, but they can't tell you that the name of the river bend there. They'll just say, oh, it's on the Tully River. But we have a particular name for every place, and it all has special meaning. For the first 9 to 16 years of my life, brought up in a regional culture, the language was there. My mum was a very fluent speaker of all the languages around here, including Warragamay over the hill. And I'd hear language all the time, and when I was working in timber cutting around here, I had my brother and cousins working with me. They were all fluent language speakers, so we used to use language quite a bit. In the 40s, this old white fellow was packing fruit, and I started to sing, "Hey, shut up with that yabba yabba." And, there seemed to be a fear of us being able to speak in a way that people couldn't understand, and so they really clamped down hard on it. And you'll find that right across Australia. What I experienced was just not in isolation. It was quite a common thing. But when I got married, I moved to New Guinea for 5 years, and of course I was cut off from language altogether there. But interestingly enough, I started to look at pidgin up there. And of course that then turned me around to when I thinking about home. When I come back here, I better do something about it again. I've got nobody to speak it to now. So instead of trying to remain fluent thing, I've gone on to the academics of it. All the different ways of recording it we can possibly do, we've tried to do that, yeah. This is the database for the Jirrbal language. By putting an English word in, we can get the equivalent Jirrbal word. When those birds were singing out here a while ago, they were saying, see there's the word there, baba, the bird cries out something, snake or something. That's what that they were doing just out there. So you can go and very quickly get to an explanation in Jirrbal. It's especially designed for students, to get them computer literate and language wise at the same time. What I've come up with so far is to teach mainly nouns, features and animals and things like that, and then add the doing words and things in later on. I've just given you a bit of a thing because next week we'll do a lot of verbs and directions next week. It's working. I've noticed that it's quite possible to teach the language and get people back fluently. I've got no problem with that at all. I haven't got anybody to speak to, but if I want to, it wouldn't take me long to get very fluent again now because it's all there. I've got all my mum's recordings and others, and all I've got to do is sit and listen to them and then pick it up from there again. I intend to record the story of Girragata, the legendary man that went through here naming the place, the dingo story. I'll record that very shortly in language again. I've done walks with students down this river for about an hour and a half, and it's one of the most important teaching places I have here. But people walking in that water and being told about all the things, Aboriginal knowledge of the river system, seems to be the people get the greatest learning experience out of it, and they also enjoy it. My other daughter, Sonia, got a little dance troupe going. I thought we'd never get it together again, but because all the culture and stuff was coming together, the kids were doing it and really enjoying it. They performed here in front of people and did real well. Of course, dance is a part of language anyhow. We'll never get it back like it 100%, but we can certainly keep the meanings of the words. They might have pushed all the trees and drained the lagoons and things like that, but in essence the place names are there, and they're critical to teaching language. You cannot teach language just on communication. For Aboriginal languages must have stories and place names with it, otherwise it doesn't make sense. People don't realise that the kids straight away have created for themselves an identity the minute they take it on, and you can see the difference that makes to them. To me, I'm very proud, and I hope to leave a legacy for my 4 children and my grandchildren, that they can pick it up and listen to it later on, not only my mother but myself talking about these things.